Good morning, Sam. Sam, how's the new place? We'll just give people a couple more minutes on the train. Good morning, Nicole. Rosie B. Good morning. Shalimar, what a surprise and a delight. How are you? Let's see. Hmm, does it kind of work, Shalimar? There we are.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad that I could make it today and so great to meditate with all of you.
It's great to see you. All right. I generally try not to comment on people's looks, but I love the bangs.
Yeah, it's my solution to not having to do my hair anymore. I just wake up and there's bangs and yeah, I'm like, sweet.
Look super fun.
Thank you.
Your hair looks great too.
Oh,
I just wanna be on record. Looking good.
thanks, man. Good to see everybody.
All right, let's begin. Welcome to MindLab. Uh, I had a class to teach last night and completely lost my voice, so we have a backup plan if that happens again. Nicole will jump in and finish off the class. It'd be great if I can't talk. We'll actually meditate more. In the meantime, we talked last class about, like what's a big picture of like a big picture on meditation. We talked about, there's some foundational things that apply to everything. Uh, like no matter what music we play, the chords and the scales will be the same. Uh, and so meditation, we talked about foundational ideas that kind of apply no matter what. I think some of those are developing a consistent practice or posture or understanding an object or the difference between meditative and meditating. And so I want to take a few classes to go over those things. And now that we have a database of recordings, hopefully there'll be a little bit of structure if someone ever goes into that database and starts listening to those high future you listening to these. Uh, so we'll talk a little bit about some foundational ideas yesterday, today, next couple of classes. And then we talked about from there, I think one of the main foundational things is just understanding how to concentrate the mind and be single pointed. But it's kind of like a big topic. Like when we talk about foundational things, just to lump shamatha training in with that is it's a lot. So I kind of think of that as a separate thing, like a big entity onto itself. And then we could talk about, once we have those common general foundations and that stability of mind, then we can really look to do a lot of different, there are a lot of different meditations one can do. Um, and so I do, as we journey through Mind Lab classes, one of the include those, maybe compassion-based practice or heart-based practice, or maybe we'll journey into Mahamudra practices, or more subtle body practices, things like that. And then perhaps another huge category that would like to talk about is insight practices, where we're developing insight in the nature of reality. And that insight can come through those other baskets, so to speak. Like insight can come through single pointed concentration, insight can come through love. Those things are very interconnected and intertwined. But we can also try to develop those insights directly through specific meditations. And so, as far as a big picture of what MindLab is, I think I'd like to journey through all of those ideas and all of those baskets. But I do want to start with some foundational things that I think are important. And one of the things that I think is foundational is, how do we transition from not being in meditation to being in meditation? Bishop Michael said his example is, we can't be driving a car and go from third gear to reverse. You have to gear down, go into neutral, and then go into reverse. I think it's a good metaphor. And so how do we do that? And I think there's a lot we could talk about. Like, what are the conditions for meditation? Finding a conducive place. Having some sort of routine, I think, is really helpful. In some of the Tibetan books, it talks about sweeping, getting up and cleaning, making offerings, doing offering bowls. And I found a lot of value into having a routine before my practice. And in 3-year retreat, a lot of times there's more for yoga, where I found it incredibly helpful. Like, I didn't want to do my yoga practice, and because I was tired or whatever. But my routine was to sweep my yoga shala first. And it was never dirty, because I did my yoga practice every day, and I swept every day. But just that routine, there was times I'd be really tired and I'd be sweeping, and then suddenly I'd be into sun salutations before I knew it, before my mind had objected enough. And so that routine can get us into that flow of our practice. John Yates taught, so when we talk about preliminaries, I think another aspect we could talk about is preliminaries, and there's a very traditional 7 steps in the Tibetan tradition. I wanted to review what John Yates teaches. I think it's another good thing to pull out once in a while to check back in with. Generally, I think our preliminaries are relax, wake up the mind, put something beautiful in your heart, count 10 breaths. Like, that's my normal preliminaries, but there is also a sense of connecting with the divine in there, and the 7-step preliminaries is really good for that. What did John Yates teach? He talked about, once in a while, as a preliminary, step 1, what's your motivation? Like, just tap into it for a second, especially if we're having a hard time getting to the cushion. I think that's more that step of, like, we're in that avoidance stage. The mind is making excuses of why I should skip my meditation today. And in 3-year retreat, that came up every day. No matter how solid my meditation was, I never missed sessions. But every day there was a voice that was like, yeah, you should really do this instead. And there's nothing to do. You should, I don't know, because there really wasn't anything to do. There's no dirty dishes, there's no house to clean, but there's something I came up with. So that motivation helps us tap into, okay, well, what do I believe? What is it that I believe in about meditation? I've established that as a core value in my life. I do it because I think there'll be a result. What's that? And to tap back into what's the vision? What's that result I hope to get? And that could be profound, transcendental. I want to experience emptiness. I want to see emptiness directly. I want to get rid of all suffering. It could be huge like that, but that might not be everyone's motivation. It could be, and that might be hard. We might need several things that we go to. My day goes better when I meditate in the morning. It's flat out goes better. My progression to single point of concentration requires consistency. It just it doesn't seem to work very well if I'm inconsistent. So that we can tap into those motivations that bring us to the cushion, or that bring us to the cushion even if we're on the cushion. Like, all right, I'm on the cushion, but let's do this properly. And that leads us to the second one. What's the goal of this particular session? Like, what do I want to get out of today's session? I want to really focus on uh, getting rid of even the most subtle distractions. And that's kind of what I'm working on. Or I'm working on dullness. Or I'm working on not fidgeting for a whole session. Or whatever it is. Um, what's the specific thing? And I think that's one of the advantages of journaling, is that we can kind of have this record of what, like, look back in the last couple of days, or just the idea or the process of having written it down. It keeps these ideas fresh in my mind of what is the thing that I'm kind of working on at this point right now. So what do I want to get out of the session today? What's my specific goal? And the brain works better when we have goals. That's very established in research. When we have a goal, we are much more likely to reach it. Third thing he talked about was, and to me, this is more after the meditation, is to drop the expectation, like drop the whether we reach the goal or not. If I'm working on dullness and I just fell asleep for 20 minutes, it's okay. Establishing the goal isn't establishing a reason to beat ourselves up in the future. It's not helpful. So, we establish a goal because the mind does well with that. That's the point of it. Or determined to practice with diligence. And again, these ideas, to me, they're not necessarily things I do at the beginning. They could be. But like when I set that motivation to practice with diligence, when I'm 20 minutes into a 30-minute meditation, and it's like, I did pretty good. And there's this like really attractive distraction that's there to think about. Like maybe, I don't know, which could be a work thing. I mean, it's not even an attractive thing. It could be a work thing, or it could be a fun thing to look forward to, or what kind of coffee am I going to make, or whatever. It's that setting yourself up with the expectation that I'm going to practice with diligence through this whole session that carries us through practice, converting practice to good practice, so that we actually are working towards our goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one, posture. I think we'll talk about posture on Tuesday, so we'll leave that for now. But the last part is, okay, get in the posture that's perfect for the practice as best we can. So there's 5 ideas on preliminaries to go from second, third, or fourth, or fifth gear, gearing down into neutral and into, I don't want to say reverse, but transitioning into meditation in a way that sets us up for success. And so we'll meditate and we'll go through those briefly in the meditation, and then we'll get into our stillness practice. Cool. Okay, let's do it. Really trained in this idea of relax first. We're mixing preliminaries, but here we go. Relax. Energize the mind. Find something fun. Put in your heart. And then slowly transitioning into the meditation. So at first, just being aware of the surroundings, being aware of a specific tactile sensation, or an appreciation for where we are in the room, like spatial awareness, or the sounds that are filtering into the experience, kind of accepting and grounding in all that. And then from there, connecting with a sensation in the body, associated with the breath. So it could be the belly, the chest, and we'll quickly move to sensation of breath at the nose. Use that sensation to anchor the mind. And then we'll run through those preliminaries. But first, we'll tap into your motivation for why are you here? And let whatever comes up come up without evaluation. And if you find the answer to that, why am I here? To be, it might be real, but maybe there's a higher motivation that we can think of. Like big picture, why do we believe in meditation as a core value? Had a goal for this session. And to me, it's like, what have I been working on recently? Be related to what level I'm on. Like I'm I'm on level 3. This is the thing I'm commonly working on. I really want to cultivate introspective awareness that's continuous. Could be something like make a determination to practice with diligence. And get into a nice posture. Maybe reset. Or I'm really thinking more about checking in with tension. Where is there tension? And throughout the meditation, we can check into that. Where am I holding tension? Physically or mentally, emotionally, letting that go. And with that, we'll count 10 breath cycles. Keeping the mind on the sensation of breath somewhere on the upper lip or tip of the nose. Find the object, anchor to it. 10 breaths. the counting fade away. We don't need it. Like taking the training wheels off. If we do need them, we can always put the training wheels back on. Follow that sensation of breath. Beginning of the end of the exhale, pause. Beginning into the inhale, pause. Tap into those stage 2 practices and experience. One of the aspects of stage 2 is emphasizing the joy of remembering waking up when we lose the object. And bring together those moments of awareness on the object so that we're never really losing the object completely. If you're already there, that's great. Continue. If it's been kind of getting lost in distraction, up the resolve and can do this. Keep the mind on that object in a continuous stream. Wherever you're at, make a resolution that the last 4 minutes will practice with diligence and not just not give up, but make it the best 4 minutes of this meditation, my group. Yeah, like wherever you're at. Okay, this is going to be the best one. And take a moment to evaluate how it went and do a dedication or set an intention for the day. You can give yourself a physical or mental pat on the back. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes if they're closed, come back to the space in a not in meditation kind of way, which gives us 7 glorious minutes to have a discussion. Um, Here's a question for those that have been studying together for a while. We just went through 5 preliminaries. I missed one. What was the one I missed?
Was it posture?
Yeah, postures, I blew through it. I did say it at the end, but it was pretty brief. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it in the meditation, and I didn't, Samantha's like, I didn't do the release attachment to the goal in the meditation. Also true. Yeah, I didn't talk about those in the meditation. Um, in general, I didn't talk about distractions. So distractions, there should be six. Distractions is one of them. So to make the list more complete and to quote John Yates more completely, number one, motivation. Uh, Big scope motivation. Number two, what's a specific goal for this session? Number three, letting go of that expectation. Number four, determination to practice with diligence. Five, and I think this is a cool one, and it is one that I think works well as an actual preliminary, is distractions. Like, what are going to be my common distractions today? Which could be dullness, which could be drowsiness, which could be, um, I don't know, thinking about the work meeting or whatever. What are the things that will, what are the things that I would anticipate to have to fight in this meditation? And then to make a determination to like, okay, I don't need to think about that for the next half hour, 40 minutes, whatever. And to really put them aside, very consciously identify those likely common distractions and put them aside. And then the sixth one is posture. So now we have a complete John Yates list. How'd it go? Thoughts, ideas? Anyone want to make it a list of seven? What works for you as a preliminary that's not on the list? One of John Yates' seven was having a bit of coffee before meditation, which is very dear to my heart. We would have coffee first when we would go meditate together. And he would not drink a lot of coffee, but he would drink a little bit of coffee.
Maybe one question I have
Yeah.
is, as you're thinking about the likely distractions that you're going to have during that session, just thinking about me personally, I feel like that would be a risk of getting carried away right there from the beginning, and then be like, oh, there you go. I just
Yeah.
lost a few minutes because I was trying to predict what I was going to be
Yeah. That's really funny. I've never had that. That's not my experience when I've done it, but I can totally see that could happen. Well, yeah, I could think about that fight that I had where somebody said that to me, and that was really shitty. And yeah, good point. I don't know. Try it out. Maybe that's an instruction that doesn't work. Not all instructions work for everybody.
just with practice, you get better at it.
Yeah.
Inoculation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I could totally see that happening. It's just not my experience, but I could totally see that happening. It happens like that when I do the other preliminaries, though, actually. Like when I do the kind of the Tibetan standard of invite a teacher, make an offering, uh, do a confession, then I can get back into the argument at that point. That happens to me like, okay, I really had this thing that came up and I'm trying to confess about it. And then I'm just like, I'm back in. And I'm just like, that time I criticized somebody about that thing. And then I just start criticizing them about that thing. And then it's like 5 minutes of doing the thing that I'm trying to purify. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that.
And those preliminaries were very hard for me, the 7 preliminaries, especially as a beginning meditator, because I kept on getting lost in each of those 7 steps. And to do those preliminaries, to do 7 different ideas when the mind is super distracted, I mean, I just found it took me all my meditation all the time because I can't do 7 things in 20 minutes. This takes me too long because I have to account for the amount of time that I lose, thinking about other things or getting caught back in that story. And so I really I had to make them very quick, and I would time them with my breath was one thing that I would do. Try to, 5, every one of those 7 gets 5 breaths. And if I spaced out for all 5 breaths, then I'm not doing confession today because now I'm on rejoicing. If I space out on the whole of rejoicing for 5 breaths, that's okay. I'm asking my teacher to stay and teach. And it just had to be like move through it. That was my experience. And it's kind of similar to what you're talking about, I think. Try it out. All instructions are things we can take and leave, other than have a consistent practice. Wow. Yeah. Cool. All right, my friends. Um, I have a lot of meetings and teachings today. I'm going to try to save my voice. Generally, we hang out after and chat, and I would love to continue discussing with you. That's a really important part of MindLab for me, to get to hear other people and not just talk at people. So please come back, Shalimar. It's so great to see you. Uh, Everyone, great to see you. But um, generally, it is a really important part of MindLab experience, I think, is to get to share ideas and talk. And uh, I just need to kind of call it a day a little early. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Earle.
And yeah, have a beautiful day.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
you.
much. Bye bye.
All right, take care.